सुप्रभात, स्वागत। प्रातःकालीन सत्र को आरंभ करने के लिए प्रारंभिक वंदना एवं अर्पणा करेंगे। आमंत्रित करते हैं निमिषा जी को। ओवर टू यू निमिषा जी।
Good morning, everyone. Dedication of offerings. Yoso Bhagava Araham Samma Sambuddho Swakhato Yena Bhagavata Dhammo Supatipanno Yassa Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Tammayam Bhagavantam Sadamang Sasangam Imehi Sakarehi Yatharaham Aropitehi Abhipujayama. To the Blessed One, the Lord who fully attained perfect enlightenment, to the teaching which he expounded so well, and to the Blessed One's disciple who have practiced well, to these the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, we render with offerings our rightful homage. Sadhuno bhante bhagava suchir pariniputopi pachima janatanukampa manasa ime sakkare dugat panakar bhute patiganhatu amhakam dikaratam hitaya sukhaya. It is well for us that the Blessed One, having attained liberation, still had compassion for later generations. May these simple offerings be accepted for our long-lasting benefit and for the happiness it gives us. Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantam Abhivademi. Swakhato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namassami. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangham Namami. The Lord, the perfectly enlightened and the Blessed One, I render homage to the Buddha, the Blessed One. The teaching so completely explained by him, I bow to the Dhamma. The Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well, I bow to the Sangha. Preliminary homage. Andamayam Buddhassa bhagavato bubbhaganam karam karomase. Now let us pay preliminary homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed Noble and perfectly enlightened one. Homage to the Blessed Noble and perfectly enlightened one. Homage to the Blessed Noble and perfectly enlightened one. We'll do reflection now. 5 subjects of frequent recollection. Andamayam abhinna pachavekana patham bhanamase. Jaradhammomihi jaram antito. I am of the nature to age. I have not gone beyond aging. Vyadhi dhammomi, vyadhim anatito. I am of the nature to sicken. I have not gone beyond sickness. Marana dhammomi, maranam antito. I am of the nature to die. I have not gone beyond dying. Sabbehi me piyehi manapehi nana bhavo vina bhavo. All that is mine, beloved and pleasing, will become otherwise, will become separated from me. Kammasakomi, kammadayado, kammayoni, kammabandhu, kammapatisarano, yam kammam karissami, kalyanam va papakam va, tassadayado bhavissami. I am the owner of my karma, hire to my karma, born of my karma, related to my karma, abide supported by my karma. Whatever karma I shall do, for good or for ill, of that I will be higher. I will be the higher. Evam amhehi abhinnam pachavekitapang. Thus, we should frequently recollect. Reflection on 32 paths. Handamayam tvatim sankara patham bhanamase. Ayam ko me kayo uttam padatala adho ke samattaka tachapariyanto puro nanapakarasa asuchino. This is this which is my body, from the sole of the feet up and down from the crown of the head is a sealed bag of skin filled with unattractive things. Atti imasmim kai kesa loma nakha danta tacho mansam naharu atti attiminjam vakkam hadayam yakanam kilomakanam piha pihakam pappasam antam antagunam udariyam karissam pittam semaham puppo lohitam sedu medu asu vasa khelo singharika lasika muttang mathalunganati. In this body there are hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, sinews, bones, bone marrow, kidneys, heart, liver, membranes, spleen, lungs, bowels, entrails, undigested food, excrement, bile, phlegm, pus, blood, sweat, fat, tears, grease, spittle, mucus, oil of the joints, urine, brain. Evam ayam me kayo uditam padatala adho ke samantaka tachpariyanto puro nanapakarasa asuchino. This then which is my body, from the soles of the feet, up and down from the crown of the head, is a sealed bag of skin filled with unattractive things. Thank you.
थैंक यू निमिषा जी। तो इधर शांत रहते हैं। उसके उपरांत लेक्चर नंबर 16 को सुनते हैं। लेट्स सेटल डाउन।
This morning I'd like to continue with the theme of investigating dispassion. Viraka. Investigating dispassion, I breathe in. Investigating dispassion, I breathe out. That directing attention to that quality of fading away, of allowing the mood or particular feeling to be experienced from a place of dispassion rather than passion, rather than the holding, clinging, constant affirmation of a particular feeling or mood or view that one comes to attend to it with this quality of dispassion. So much of what how we experience ourselves and the world around us is completely generated by the inner biases, inner kind of holding. And we constantly believe that, and constantly work from those assumptions and that position. So that with mindfulness of breathing at this point, really trying to look more clearly at the way that we are viewing, or the kind of emotional tone of how we're perceiving something. And can we put that down? Can we set that aside? Can we have dispassion towards a particular feeling that we're experiencing right now? And and if we can't, then it's a very clear indication of the kind of clinging, attachment, proliferation. The mind is proliferating with its particular flavor of the moment, and it'll change, and then we'll go on and believe the next thing. It has a certain power at that time, and the whole world seems to be aligned with that particular perspective. But in the light of Dhamma and in the light of the impermanent, changing nature of things, its uncertainty, then those particular views and feelings and perspectives are, they tend to crumble very quickly. And either we rush back in and support them because they're dear to us, or we go on to the next thing, find some other cause to invest our energy and our obsessions with. And this is mostly how we spend our time. Rarely do we return to a place of dispassion. and allow things to settle. To be contemplating the possibility of dispassion, and trying to experience the particular moods and feelings that we have, the particular views that we have. And what would they be if one were truly able to establish dispassion? What meaning would they have? What value would they have? Because that quality of dispassion just gives such a space to the mind to settle and cool. And without that possibility of settling and cooling, then we just tend to keep the mind spinning. And one of the themes that's very helpful for reflection on encouraging dispassion is the theme of death. Contemplating, in particular, one's own death, and to make it very clear in one's mind that this is a very real possibility. It's not just conjecture, and to take it past the intellectual level, because on a certain in a certain way, everybody knows that. Everybody knows they're going to die. But most people work from the assumption that it's going to be somebody else first, and not us yet. Like soldiers going into battle or something in there, and there may be some fear and anticipation there, but they tend to think that's it's somebody else who's going to experience death. The enemy, some unfortunate people on our side maybe, but certainly not us, not me. We make the plans for what one would do after. I remember it was a few years ago, there was I think it was in Yosemite, there was I guess they've been various parachuting clubs and whatnot, jumping off a big rock there or something. I guess there's a few big rocks there in Yosemite. But and the Park Service was trying to curtail that and saying it was dangerous, and people had been hurt, and then they sort of this various people and clubs got together and protest this draconian measure of the Park Service, and did a sort of an organized jump over there with sort of the leader of the group, the head of the group. And they said, well, yeah, parachuting, can be dangerous, but this is certainly not the case. So anyway, they went ahead, and the leader jumped off, and neither parachute's open, and just sort of splatted at the bottom. And it didn't sort of start the day of thinking, maybe I could die. Didn't think that at all. And and obviously, if one this is a contemplation for dispassion. It's a contemplation for restructuring one's priorities and values so that one places Dhamma foremost. It's not a contemplation just to try to make oneself fearful of death and then avoid anything that is a bit fearful or worrisome. One can paralyze oneself with fear also, but that's not the point of these contemplations. Again, any contemplation is for the creating this balance within the heart, so that the Dhamma can shine forth, and one facilitates one's opportunity for practice and training as much as possible, so that this contemplation of death is contemplating one's own death and really bringing it up in order to encourage oneself and to spur one on to be cautious, careful, circumspect. Heedful. Appamada is the Pali term of sort of being circumspect, heedful. And the Buddha says that this is a foremost quality in laying the ground for liberation. When this heedfulness or circumspect quality comes up, then the Buddha gives the image of the dawn. In the same way, when one sees the first light of dawn, one knows the day will unfold. It'll become light, and the day will unfold. The same thing when one recognizes this quality of appamada, circumspect, heedfulness, kind of a care and attention to things, then one can expect the unfolding and ripening of the Eightfold Path and its resultant liberation. So the contemplations on death are helpful tools for spurring one on in that direction and sort of resetting one's priorities. And again, it lays that ground for dispassion to really cool the heart of its impulses to follow a particular desire, mood, bias, and to return to Dhamma. And to really do that as one breathes in, as one breathes out, really contemplating the image of death and one's own death, the death of everybody who one. It's like Larry Rosenberg talking about. He said he's a bit of a film buff, so he really enjoys movies and get various movies and then one night he was I think when he was working on one of his books so working through some of these contemplations, and he got a movie to watch, and was an old 1938 movie, Clark Gable, Carole Lombard, and he's watching this movie, and it's of course these people are vibrant and full of life, and then he started contemplating, wow, gee, Clark Gable's dead, Carole Lombard's dead, every single actor that was acting there is dead. The people who directed it, footed the film, produced it, the people who worked on the sets, probably everybody who had anything to do with this movie is dead, and everybody dies. And the illusion is one of life and continuing life, ongoing life, onward and upward life, forever and ever. It's just somehow I'm going to so that really bringing it. We ourselves die, everybody dies. And not to be making, say, decisions from a place of as if one was going to live forever. To make one's decisions from a place of death is certain. Death is a certain thing. Time is very uncertain. The timing of it is very uncertain. And that, one of the contemplations that I've found very helpful and used over time to contemplate, what as one is practicing. It's a breathing in, breathing out. And what kind of a mood, a mental state, a thought, if this were the last moment of my life, if I were going to die right now, is this the kind of mental state that I want to carry with me into my death? Is this the kind of mood or thought that I want in my last moment? Well, I've always found it just restructures radically what I'm holding on to and where I want to direct attention. Dispassion, and not dispassion in a cool, unfeeling sense. It's dispassion in the sense of a cool, clear, circumspect observation of reality and truth. The dispassion brings us back to the possibility of the mind to be really clear and not be shaken and moved by the moods and thoughts that just endlessly sort of bubble up in the mind. So that reflection on on death, dying. That is, if I were to die right now, is this a suitable mental state? Is this a suitable thought to be carrying with me? And what kind of mental state do I want to bring to my last moment, to my last breath? And certainly that quality of dispassion is high up on the list. So to bring those reflections into play. Investigating dispassion, I breathe in. Investigating dispassion, I breathe out. There's a very famous monk in Thailand who is what he's most famous for really is his medallions. They're considered to be extremely potent and protective, and he has huge crowds at his monastery that come to seek blessings from him, because he's considered, whatever he says, say a blessing or a perspective, is something that is auspicious, will come to be. And his amulets are considered very, very auspicious and protective. And at one point, somebody asked him, what was besides receiving the blessings and the amulets and the doing the external practice, what's the most suitable way to practice meditation in terms of meditation technique and method? And he said, that's very easy. He said, and in Thai, when that Burmese method of practice of noting, where one sort of rising, falling, moving, touching, it's done in a sort of way of question. In a sense, it's actually quite interesting technique in that way. So that like the breathing in is yup no, pang no, breathing, or breathing out is that sort of is that question of falling, and it's a question: is it falling? And breathing in, is it rising? And any other thing. And so, but anyway, he said the quickest sort of way he used that, on the in-breath, die no, on the out-breath, die no. He said, am I dying? On the in-breath, am I dying? On the out-breath, am I dying? And it's keeping that death as the constant theme. And that's probably the most auspicious, protective thing one could ever do, and to be bringing that reflection, raising up that contemplation. And it's it's something that people don't do. Don't live our lives from a place of recognition of death. One time I went to out to Dowdam. There this place along the Burmese border that would have a retreat center, and it was the first time I'd gone back. I took a group from Wat Nanachan. It's the first time I'd gone back to visit, and there was many of us from Wat Nanachan went along, and they actually hadn't had any monks in there since the year that I had spent the rains retreat. And so it'd been about 7 years there hadn't been any monks there. And the people that were there were very excited to have monks. And one of the reasons they were excited is because many of the people had died during those 7 years, and there had not been any monks to do any proper funeral ceremonies, so that they had buried everybody, and then they wanted us to do a proper cremation for all of the people who had died. And so that in order to do that, the idea was that they would get the villagers would help, and we would go to each grave site and take out a part of the body of each person, so that then we do a communal cremation. And so the time was set, the day was set, and we convened to go out to the charnel ground area, and the villagers. I mean, they're miners. They're tough sort of people who are out on the fringes of kind of a frontier society, and they were absolutely terrified. And so in order to get over their fear of death, of course they were fortified with large amounts of alcohol. And we started digging up the sites, and as we get to the first one, and you get to the coffin, and immediately you sort of knock a hole in the side of the coffin, and then a person sort of put their hand in and sort of just tried to get something. Anyway, the kind of a head came rolling out, and skull came rolling out, and these people sort of, these villagers just bolted into the forest. They just ran off in different directions, and and so we went and got this skull, and then they came back and sort of slopped back more alcohol to keep them going. But in the end, they were so drunk that they couldn't dig anymore. And we ended up, and they said, that's enough. We'd only did about 2 or maybe 3, and there'd been, I don't know, easily 15, 20 people had died, and anyway, that was enough. By the time we did about 3, then they were finished. But it was just, you could just see the fear, and it didn't matter sort of how much alcohol they put down their throats. They were just never able to get past that fear. And as monks, it was actually a really interesting contemplation. It was a really nice day outing to be able to go to a charnel ground and really sort of see death and see the human body. I posted up an article on on the board, which is similar. Well, much grosser, much grander. There was an article about a monastery in Thailand that it's turned into a makeshift morgue and center so that people are coming, still of course coming and trying to find relatives, trying to identify relatives, still trying to from the tsunami, and then there's a huge number of bodies there, 1,000, 1,500 bodies, huge number of bodies, and they're, of course, as each day goes past, they're just increasing stages of decomposition. But it's the story of the monks that are living in that monastery, and their perspectives and reflections on living in the middle of a makeshift morgue, and they keep their. They said their sort of ordinary daily routine is a bit impacted by the just the presence of so many people. There's these large groups of forensic scientists who are trying to do the detailing work and whatnot, and then relatives coming, so that they're just trying to respond to the circumstances, and then their morning and evening meditations or meal offerings are all taking place there, and there's this strong sense of this opportunity to reflect on death is very priceless, and this is the reality of human existence, and it's beyond what anybody has ever imagined, conceived of, having so much death around. But bringing it inwards and using it to contemplate priorities and what's important, and the nature of human life in general, to be bringing that in, investigating. As we reflect on death, and our own deaths in particular, really trying to keep that contemplation going. It's there's certain aspects or permutations of that are important to recollect on. And one is just the resistance that we have to even contemplating death. That desire that's somehow it's not going to affect us somehow, or we distance ourselves from it in a way that it doesn't touch our hearts. Because there is this just very deep-seated, almost on a cellular level, that somehow the desire not to die, and that is it's nature. But then on the mind and the personality level, it takes over, and we and that's always been a quest. The great sort of epic quest is one is for immortality. I said remember Woody Allen line, I don't want to achieve immortality through my works. I want to achieve it through not dying. It's a but that's the feeling in everybody's heart. So to really trying to make it clear that this is inevitable. This is a part. Contemplating the death of the people we love, we respect. Of our parents, teachers, somebody like Ajahn Chah, so larger than life. But he's been dead for over 10 years now. Somebody who's the wisest being that I've met, with the most sort of vitality and kind of presence. And he got sick and he died. It's just that is natural, because that's everybody. And the Buddha died a long time ago on that physical realm of the physical body. That death is what awaits us all. And we have to do it. We have to do it ourselves. We'll be alone when we die. Whether or not we're surrounded by all sorts of people who are either sort of cheering us on and chanting mantras and meditating, or there's people around weeping and wailing, or there's people around who are indifferent. On a very ultimate sense, we're alone. We have to do that ourselves. We will be on our own at that point. And we need to cultivate the qualities of balance and equanimity and dispassion and clarity now. It's not something that is going to somehow manifest at that time because we thought it was a good idea. It's something that we need to develop, cultivate, and continually bring to our practice, bring to our training. Because when the time comes, it just it's not at all what one thought it was going to be. There's a person who does a lot of hospice work in Rodney Smith, I think his name is, up in Seattle. Does a lot of hospice work, does a lot of with dying people. And he said usually the people who have the most difficult time are the people who thought their death was going to be spiritual somehow. That there was going to be, they had some idea that somehow their death was going to be a spiritual death. They were going to die in a spiritually illumined sort of fashion somehow. But you don't. It's a nice idea. But if you're really not cultivating it, living it all the time, every day, nice ideas don't come to much. That contemplation of, as I breathe in, investigating dispassion. As I breathe out, investigating dispassion. It's cultivating the qualities that lead to clarity and stability. And a constant returning to that, and not wasting time. How much time do we waste? Either in things that we think are useful, valuable, or things that other people think are useful or valuable. And, in the end, I remember a line of one of Warapanya's sort of poems, verses. In the end, one is cooked and eaten by the king of death. It's a very vivid image, which is helpful to bring up, because we do need to motivate ourselves. We do need to encourage that quality of making the practice immediate, and to set our priorities straight, and to relinquish what needs to be let go of, and to cultivate what needs to be cultivated. And that one of the qualities which the Buddha praises for cultivation is dispassion. And it's also something that naturally arises. Dispassion naturally arises when we see things really clearly. We see things in their true light. So that those contemplations of impermanence are in all its permutations, right down to us. This person, this being, this body, this personality, this thing we call me. Really seeing its and seeing it in the light of its death. So I'll offer that for reflection this morning.
อันธนยังหัวคทายาสาธุการังคัทามาเส
कोई प्रश्न हो तो पूछे जा सकते हैं, कोई ऑब्जर्वेशन हो तो शेयर कर सकते हैं। ओके, मैंने कुछ एक कंक्लूजन ड्रॉ किया है चच्चक सुत्त में, उसको समझने के बाद तो मैं आप लोगों से पूछना चाहता हूँ कि वो ठीक समझा है कि नहीं। जिसमें अनुशय की बात करते थे, तो इसमें लिखा है कि इफ व्हेन टच्ड बाय ए फीलिंग ऑफ नीदर प्लेजर नॉर पेन, वन डिसर्न एज इट एक्चुअली इज प्रेजेंट the origination, passing away, allure, drawback, and escape from that feeling, then one's ignorance dormant tendency doesn't get strengthened. तो पहले मुझे लगता था कि जस्ट मिनट, तो पहले मुझे लगता था कि न्यूट्रल फीलिंग में क्या मतलब क्या इसमें गलत है, या उसका एल्योरमेंट और ड्रॉबैक क्या है, बट व्हाट आई अंडरस्टैंड दैट इट इज अबाउट बोर्डम। क्योंकि जब बोर्डम की फीलिंग आती है तो फिर आदमी सांसों के प्रति इग्नोरेंट हो जाता है, उस समय वो ध्यान नहीं दे पाता है। सो नाउ आई अंडरस्टैंड दैट इट इज लाइक व्हेन वन इज टच्ड बाय अ फीलिंग ऑफ काइंड ऑफ बोर्डम, एंड अगर वो उस समय डिसर्न कर लेता है कि ये एक ऐसी फीलिंग है, ये देखो ओरिजिनेशन है, उसके अंदर मैं मोहग्रस्त हो रहा हूँ, तो मे बी मुझे लेजीनेस आ रही है, मैं सो रहा हूँ, तो वो उसका ड्रॉबैक है। और उसको देख के अगर वो उसको स्केप कर जाता है और अपनी सांसों पर ध्यान देने लगता है, तो उसकी इग्नोरेंस डोमिनेंट टेंडेंसी नहीं बढ़ती है। तो ये मेरा कंक्लूजन ठीक है? ये इसमें आप लोग कुछ,
Clearly written.
pardon सर?
It is clearly written. That is the way it should be.
पहले क्या हो रहा था सर कि मैं न्यूट्रल फीलिंग में सोच रहा था कि न्यूट्रल फीलिंग तो अच्छा है ना, राग नहीं है, द्वेष नहीं है, तो कम से कम अच्छा है, उसमें ड्रॉबैक क्या हो सकता है। देन थोड़ा समय लगा कि न्यूट्रल फीलिंग इज हियर रिलेटेड टू प्रॉब्ली बोर्डम।
Not necessarily boredom. It can be boredom, but it can be just ignore it. We get involved with other things. We put our mind, we don't experience them, and our mind deflects to something else. आप ये सिर्फ साधना करते हुए मत देखो ना, सामान्य जीवन में सामान्य जीवन में तो यही होता है ना। We always put our mind to something जहाँ पे कुछ मजा आ रहा है। साधना करते हुए हम इग्नोर कर देते हैं। खास तो अगर आप ओपन अवेयरनेस कर रहे हैं तो you don't put attention to that. That's why sometimes doing scanning is also helpful. When you do open awareness and sit, you tend to observe only that which is prominent. You don't look at the whole field of experience. तो माइंड की टेंडेंसी नहीं है उसको भी। तो जो न्यूट्रल फीलिंग है, not just bodily feeling, neutral feeling in the world, in the sense eye, ear, nose, every sense door, the neutral feeling is not, it is not reflected upon.
तो प्रिसाइसली दिस वाज द पॉइंटर कि जब वो उसमें इग्नोर की जा रही है तो आस्वादन कहाँ आता है उसमें, कहता है ना कि व्हेन इट इज एबल टू सी द एल्योरमेंट, तो जब उसको उसमें आस्वादन तो है ही नहीं तभी तो आदमी उसको नेग्लेक्ट करता है। ये मेरे दिमाग में चलता रहता था। व्हेन इट्स एबल टू सी द एल्योरमेंट, ड्रॉबैक एंड एस्केप, तो एल्योरमेंट तो है ही नहीं उसमें, तो फिर क्यों उस तरफ जाता है आदमी।
उसको इग्नोर करना भी तो एक तरह का एलियोरमेंट ही है। अनप्लेजेंट फीलिंग में क्या एलियोरमेंट है? What is the
अन
allurement?
अम, अन-
ग्रेटिफिकेशन। अनप्लेजेंट फीलिंग में क्या दर्द हो रहा है, उसमें क्या ग्रेटिफिकेशन?
उसका इस संदर्भ में चच्चक सूत्र में नहीं था सर। चच्चक सूत्र में था कि अगर आपको दुख आया, आपने उस पर रिएक्ट नहीं किया, तो बोलते हैं कि वो फीलिंग खत्म हो जाएगी। ये पर्टिकुलर एप्लीकेशन न्यूट्रल फीलिंग पे लगाई है। वहां पर मेरे को समझ नहीं आ रहा था कि न्यूट्रल फीलिंग में आस्वादन क्या ढूंढता है आदमी। उसमें लिखा है इफ इट इज एबल टू सी द अल्योरमेंट, एंड देन आई वाज कंफ्यूज्ड। राग अनुशय और पटिक अनुशय वो तो क्लियर हो गए, ये वाला टाइम
कहते
लगा
हैं,
था।
अब शिक्षक सूत्र की एक बात है। आप जनरली हम कहते हैं ना कि जो 70-58 सूत्र थे और सूत्र थे कि हर एक्सपीरियंस के ऊपर अंदर कुछ ग्रेटिफिकेशन है, कुछ डेंजर है। तो ग्रेटिफिकेशन का मतलब सिर्फ मजा नहीं है। आस्वाद है, शब्द आस्वादा, स्वाद लेना। स्वाद लेना मतलब दुख का भी स्वाद होता है। जैसे अजान नबी समझा रहे थे कल के प्रवचन में कि किसी को बीमारी थी और जब वो बीमारी छूट गई तो वो कहता मैं तो स्टोरी खत्म हो गई।
यस।
There's a tendency to get stuck with unpleasant feeling also. I am the one who has a constant pain in the back. I'm just giving example. I can get stuck with that. Every old man can get stuck with that. Oh, I'm a man, I'm constantly having pain in the body. So you are actually स्वाद ले रहे हो पेन का। स्वाद not in the sense of enjoyment. So you should see that word असादा का ट्रांसलेशन ग्रेटिफिकेशन जो है ना वो एक सेंस में ठीक है, एक सेंस में इनएडिक्वेट है। यू शुड सी द ओरिजिनल वर्ड। आस्वाद मतलब स्वाद लेना। तो जब उस तरह से समझेंगे तो देखेंगे किसी चीज को इग्नोर करना भी एक उसके प्रति प्रतिक्रिया कर रहे हैं ना।
इनफैक्ट यू रिमेम्बर वन एग्जाम्पल, जब मैं पैनल डिस्कशन में था इसके, तो आपने बताया था कि हम किसी पार्टी में जाते हैं तो डिस्कस करते हैं कि वो स्वीट डिश अच्छी थी या ये अच्छा तीखा था, लेकिन पानी को इग्नोर कर देते हैं कि पानी भी पिया था। पानी का भी वो न्यूट्रल में चला गया, वो इग्नोरेंस मोड में चला गया।
एक पानी की चर्चा तब करेंगे जब वो बहुत ठंडा हो या बहुत गर्म,
हम्म,
है ना, जब वो प्रिय या अप्रिय अनुभव
हम्म,
में आने। हवा की चर्चा तब होती है जब पोल्यूशन होता है या स्मेल आती है।
हम्म,
You can see that. The key thing is to recognize the impermanent nature of experience, every experience. Impermanent nature of every experience. That we recognize. तो स्पेसिफिकली न्यूट्रल के लिए कहा जाता है उसको करने को, ताकि उसको इग्नोर न करें। बॉडी लेवल पे भी जो हम देखते हैं, धीरे धीरे जैसे राग द्वेष कम होते हैं तो सारे एक्सपीरियंसेस न्यूट्रल ही लगते हैं। From when you practice for a long time, then bodily experiences somehow seem neutral most of the time. बहुत हाई इंटेंसिटी होती है तो लगता है कि हाँ अनप्लेजेंट है, प्लेजेंट है। बेसिकली अंडरलाइन टेंडेंसी हल्की हो गई है।
Sometimes we may misinterpret it as equanimity, but it may not really be true equanimity.
Yeah.
Boredom
we
is one
should
extreme, equanimity is the other extreme.
we should see that every, especially a body scan कर रहे हैं, we should see it clearly, इनको चेंज हो रहा है, चेंज हो रहा है, and note, is the experience pleasant, unpleasant, neutral है, slightly tending towards pleasant, slightly tending towards unpleasant, or I can't find. So you're careful in observation, then you can note that.
This discussion is helpful. और प्रश्न है तो पूछ लें। सबके लिए मंगल कामना करते हुए क्लोजिंग चैंट्स। सभ्ये सत्ता सुखी होन्तु, सभ्ये होन्तु चखेमिनो, सभ्ये भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा किञ्चित् पापमुवागमा, मा किञ्चित् शोकमुवागमा, मा किञ्चित् दुःखमुवागमा। अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो भगवा, बुद्धं भगवन्तं अभिवादेमि। वाखातो भगवता धम्मो, धम्मं नमस्सामि। सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो, संघं नमामि। Thank you everyone. Thank you sir. You know,
Thank you, Nikhil.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Nikhil, thank you
Dhanyavad.
especially to you for logging in regularly at the point. Thank you so much.
That's for my benefit also.